Everyone, it is officially 6:02 p.m. I'm calling to order the Commission on the Use of Publicly Owned Properties for our regular meeting, Monday, March 23rd, 2026. Item number 2 is our March 3rd special meeting minutes. Is there a motion? Motion, Aaron, to adopt the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? Patty? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Great, okay. Okay, my report. First things, I have a lot to report for this week. On Wednesday, I will be presenting at the Board of Selectmen our annual Cupop review and status on all of our projects. So if you're able to attend, that would be wonderful in case there are specific questions that some of you have researched. If not, that's okay, I understand. And actually, Dan's not here, but I already talked to him about forests, so that's all set. Item number 2 in my report, I did present at the last Board of Selectmen meeting on the legality of the request made by Board of Selectmen member Amy Morello regarding the 2 properties we discussed and the potential as to whether or not a deed restriction trumps the right for ADUs on a property, and whether or not a single family home can be limited to 55 and over. So I did make that presentation based on research that Dan assisted with, as reported at the last meeting, and so that was completed. This Wednesday also, after the Board of Selectmen meeting, there will be a joint meeting of the Town Planning and Zoning, Board of Selectmen, and the chairs of Conservation, Housing, Sustainability, EDC, and Art Commission. So I will also be there, and that begins at 6:30 p.m. It will mainly be discussing the business commercial district and how the new state statutes, which require changes in our zoning, in all zonings with all municipalities within Connecticut, in commercial districts that are due on July 1st, will affect Woodbridge. Also tomorrow, I told you I had a lot of meetings this week. Tomorrow, I will be meeting with Habitat for Humanity to discuss their potential within Woodbridge and perhaps adding to our affordable and diverse housing stock that we have in Woodbridge. So that will hopefully be a helpful meeting as we move forward. And a little announcement, next Monday on the 30th at 7 p.m. there will be a charter revision public hearing. I am on that committee as well. So that will be at 7 p.m. That's an opportunity for the public to come in and make any recommendations in regard to revisions they would like to see with the charter. Okay. I did want to make a quick announcement. I am in receipt of some correspondence regarding a property that we will be discussing later on this evening, which is 95 Center Road. I believe there may have been some communication confusion regarding that property. At no time is this commission looking for a potential commercial use for that property. We're reviewing 95 Center as we do all of the Category 3 publicly owned properties to obtain its historical value and whether or not that potential property can be changed for use, or whether we want to recommend that. That does not necessarily occur with most of the properties that we review. As you will see during my report on Wednesday, I have created a list of properties that we have changed the use of, and those that we have not, and those that we have not substantially outweigh those that we have. So please, if you're here for 95 Center, do not be worried. This is actually a review that Cupop should be doing regularly, and just for your information, this has not been done since 1982, maybe 3. But very dated. So we're definitely overdue for this. We have reviewed all of the properties under Category 3, as I indicated. Again, I will be giving a summary of that Wednesday evening at 5 p.m. at the Board of Selectmen meeting. And so we are just reviewing 95 Center as we do all of the Category 3 properties, okay? That will be later on, and that will be Dave that will be doing that. Great. So Other than that, I think I'm completed with my report. And we do have public comment as number 4. So if you want to come up, we like to allow 3 minutes per public comment. If you could please state your name and address for the record and sign up as well, please, if you come forward. Thank you. Any public comment? Okay.
Regarding any of the comments, right?
Yes, sure.
Marlon Teneri, resident 74 Hill Road. You know, I spoke at the last meeting you had here. I don't want to be redundant, but I would like to revisit just a couple of short points. A couple of my neighbors couldn't be here tonight because of conflicted schedules. They asked me also to speak on their behalf. I'm looking at and I know you have a copy of this, the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 14th, 1995. And I'm on page 10 of 14. Ball Field Design Committee presentation, Mr. Engstrom, chairman, introduced the committee. Steve Miller, Steve so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is Mr. Engstrom described the proposed plan for these ball fields. And in that description, he said the fields would not be lighted and there'd be no permanent sound systems. That was his presentation when he started that. We go on further, page 12 of those minutes. After the town Board of Selectmen voted to approve those fields conditionally, they went straight forward after that and to a proposed ordinance where the board voted to refer the ordinance committee the request to adopt an ordinance prior to any use of the Acorn Hill fields for organized ball field purposes, with such ordinance prohibiting the use of all-terrain vehicles on the property, no lighting of the playing fields for night games, no loudspeakers installed, and signage requirements imposed. It's pretty straightforward stuff. They later went on with a recommendation as to maybe there are alternate ways to control this property and impose those regulations without use of an ordinance. And we're not going to get into that except to say that on June 14th, the Board of Selectmen, their request for an ordinance prohibiting ATVs, lighting, speaker systems, and signage as a prerequisite to the use of those fields for organized sports activity is a very clear indicator to everyone of the pre-negotiated agreement that was reached with the neighborhood group, to which I was one of, and I was there. So this isn't hearsay. This is me having participated in this back in '95. It's coming firsthand. It was also clearly understood by everyone involved that these stated use limitations were the very foundation upon which the neighborhood agreed to support the proposed construction of those recreation fields. I have to say I'm disappointed in the fact that I even have to be here to have this discussion, because for the Fathers League, this land use committee, or any of the town's administrative bodies to attempt to navigate its way around the previously agreed upon limitations would be disrespectful to the very neighborhood that helped make these fields a reality. But even more importantly, I think it would be unethical and dishonorable, and would forever tarnish the league and the town's public reputation. I just don't see how we could be going down this road. I would like to think that we as a community are better than that, and I'm asking everyone involved here, including the gentleman behind me on the league, to do the right thing, honor the agreement. That's all we need to do. And I don't know that I need to say much more than that, because all these other arguments you might bring to the table become a moot point when you look at what the right thing is and what was clearly established when these fields were approved. Beyond that, none of the other stuff matters. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And again, I mean no disrespect to the league. You guys are great people. You're doing good things for the kids. I appreciate that. We're just asking for what we agree upon in the first place, because without us, we wouldn't have these fields today. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Sure, come on up.
I am Margaret Anderson. I reside at 87 Center Road and own the driveway, the right-of-way to 95 Center Road. I'm here because I watched the meeting last month, and I got to see the discussion you were having about 97 Center Road. My husband is here. He's got all kinds of information for you. But I realize, perhaps as the gentleman before me is saying, is that we have understandings that we've made with the town over the years, and what I'm here is to say, in 1978, a wetlands hearing here in Woodbridge found that property not buildable. The town offered to sell the property to all of us, but the land has no value whatsoever except for the wetland value, no monetary. We decided we did not need to pay more taxes. A thought. I'm here because I am your institutional history. I know the property. Fred has maps, copies of the wetlands. Fred was, we're here. And what we want to do is share with you what we have so that you understand why we're here.
Thank you for your help. Thank you for the documents.
Yeah, will you submit those to us so that we can?
What did you give me?
Anything that says copy on it?
Yes. Oh, are these copies that we can just get? Did you make copies or are these your copies?
That's a copy, you can have
Margaret,
that.
I'm Dave,
Great.
by the way.
Do I give it to Tony?
Dave,
Nice
thank
to
you for
No
your
problem.
cordial
So I passed your
invitation.
email on to the board here.
Oh, so,
Okay, great.
so
And
we're
then-
known.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
if
so
you
they
could
can
pass
use-
that on to Tony, that would be wonderful. Thank you for coming, I appreciate it, and
Perfect,
though you
thank
helped
you.
us
This
get
is
those
all-
documents that we'd be including, so thank you, I appreciate it.
There's more.
Perfect, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Fred is a record keeper. He
Okay,
has
thank you
copies
very
of
much.
everything.
Tony,
Thank you.
Can you send those to us later?
Yes, it'll be part of the minutes.
Oh, it'll be in a minute.
Yep.
And please come back and look at the property. 90% of it right now is underwater. Stay on the driveway. Our ruts are filling up with water. The water table is exceptionally high, and we are an upland wetland.
Yes. Thank you
Use
so
our
much.
driveway.
Thank you for the information.
Yes.
Okay. Any other public comments? I have to ask this 3 times, so I apologize. Any other public comments? And any other public comments? Great, thank you very much for everybody who came. All right, Acorn Hill update. Oh, actually, first it's ex officio reports. TPZ and Conservation are not here this evening, so now it's Acorn Hill Lights update, okay. So based on our conversations, I did go into the vault and did look for, I know we had several assignments that went around the commission. So I was asked to research ordinance committee minutes and any other information that may be present in the vault. I did review the minutes prior to those that were provided, which are referenced this evening again, June 14th, 1995, and through 1998. There were several updates, typically every meeting, on the construction of the ball fields at Acorn Hill. So the first piece of documentation that I did locate, and actually first thing I want to address too before I get into the vault information is that I know that there was a concern raised at the last meeting that by accepting state funds, that may in some way affect the use of the area by out-of-town residents. And that was voiced also on June 14th in 1995 by another resident at the time. As you may recall, we did receive grant funds that went partially towards the construction of the fields. At that time, Ms. Burwhistle indicated that the land purchased with state funds so the land was purchased with state funds previously as well. Any conditions were already attached to land at that time. And I can tell you after speaking to personnel in the town that any funds that we obtained from the state grants, specifically the outdoor recreational grant, does not carry with it any type of requirement that would trump our recreation department's ability to control how that property is utilized. So it does not take away our municipality's ability to control, time that must be closed, people that may be able to use the property, things of that nature. So I just want to let everybody know that, to put that, that concern at rest. On, as indicated this evening, as well as at the last meeting, there was a concern. Let me read my notes here for a second. On June 14th of 1995, as indicated by public comment and within the minutes, that yes, there was a reference to the ordinance committee for, quote, the request to adopt an ordinance prior to any use of the Acorn Hill fields for organized baseball field purposes, prohibiting the use of all terrain vehicles on the property, no lighting of playing fields for night games, no loudspeakers installed, and signage requirements imposed, end quote. There were memos written by the administrative officer during the period of time in 1995, Richard McGuire, to the Board of Selectmen on this, on many issues, but this also included an update on this ordinance, provided updates on several occasions, and indicated that it was under review. And on November 15th of 1995, Mr. Sheehy reported that was giving a report on all the proposed ordinances that were listed at the time. And regarding the regulation of all-terrain vehicles and lighting at Acorn Hill, he stated, quote, that the committee suggested that a committee governing this area be established by ordinance instead, end quote, and no action was taken regarding an ordinance at that time. Further on, as I indicated, I did continue the research to see if at any point in time there was any further discussion on an ordinance regarding the lighting at Acorn Hill. There was not. I did find that an ATV ordinance was enacted around 1998, effective in 99, which prohibited usage on town-owned property. I propose at this point in time, and I was trying to find, I know there are lighting ordinances pertaining to the fields at Amity High School. I do know that those ordinances actually, let me rephrase that, it's not an ordinance, it's a TPZ regulation regarding the lighting usage on the football fields that they have at Amity High School, and it was recently amended. So I put a call into the building department, specifically Christine Sullivan, to see perhaps when the Acorn Hill fields were being constructed, if that went before TPZ, and whether or not there were conditions placed at that time regarding lighting usage on there. If that is the case, then obviously this may be a similar situation where this may have to go before TPZ. I have not received that information as of yet. That does not mean that we cannot continue our process of review, because we are still required to provide a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on this issue. So, moving forward, I want to get that information regarding TPZ and whether or not there's any conditions associated with that, or whether it ever went before TPZ. I guess that's the first question. And also, we have been, we did request, or it was brought to our attention at the last meeting, and we did show interest in this, that this particular lighting that was presented to us at the last meeting was just installed in Oxford. And so Oxford has offered to allow us to go over there and look at the lighting. That would be a public meeting, so everyone is invited to go to look at this lighting. It will be noticed just like any other meeting, and so as soon as we are able to coordinate that trip out to Oxford, it will be published and notice provided to the town. That was my assignment. So moving forward for our April meeting, I will obtain the TPZ information, and also we hopefully would have already gone out to Woodbridge before the April meeting. Aaron, I think you had an assignment.
I did, although part of my assignment probably got by your answer. But so my assignment was to talk to the Parks Department to find out about the process that they go through to allow organizations and individuals to get scheduled access to the fields. Can you not hear?
Can you go into the microphone?
I'll lean forward. So I went, talked to the Parks Department. I talked to John DeMeo, and he's the one that does the scheduling. They actually have their meeting at the exact same time as us every month, so they're not able to attend. They're meeting right now, working on the next schedule. And what they have a documented process on the website. They were unaware of any limitations or requirements that forced them to give access to the field to anyone at any time. They have their own rules. They basically have a commission meeting to do the scheduling where all the requests that come in get sort of categorized and identified if there are any conflicts. They said that it's very rare that there's a conflict, but when they do, the commission itself determines how the conflict is resolved, either by scheduling people in different fields or requesting different times from organizations. The only residency requirement part was what they charge for field usage. If an organization has less than 50% of the roster from Woodbridge residents, so if more than 50% are Woodbridge residents, they have free use of the fields. Otherwise, they have a fee schedule attached to field usage, and it depends on the field and the time and the duration. It's all listed on the website. So there's currently nothing about being able to, anyone can use the field any time. They actually have hours, and you have to request and you have to get approved by the commission to get field usage. I did bring up questions about the ownership of the equipment and whether or not they have a process for understanding maintenance and liability, and there seemed to be a bit of a gap in
I have
that.
the answer to that, by the way.
Okay, so I think they may be bringing it up at their commission meeting this evening based on my feedback to them, but that was the bulk of it.
And I wanted to add too, just to be clear regarding, yes, what they indicated about there is no requirement, as I indicated earlier. Specifically, and again, this is, of course, there are Connecticut grants that we can get, especially wetland grants and things of that nature that do carry with it specific requirements that the state, that the state mandates. However, this is not one of them, the outdoor recreational grants, and municipalities, not the state, make management decisions of athletic fields and set the use policy, which is what our Recreation Commission does. And I know that when teams need to have their scheduling approved and usage approved, they do have to appear before the Recreation Commission as part of the process. And it is standard practice for local recreation departments to prioritize field usage for local residents, which it seems that that's what's occurring here. For town leagues and school organizations specifically, typically is what it's used for. And so therefore, a municipality can legally restrict the usage, and that's the standard practice. So that's the answer. Great, thank you. So moving.
For Aaron, if you got into it. The other side of it is not just insurance and stuff like that, but so the town mows things but doesn't maintain certain things. But like in my issue, it's working right now, it's great, right? Let's say a tree falls on the dugout, right? They have it worked out where somebody fixes that, right? Beth would fix it if they're the ones that installed it, something like that. Is this written down? Like, that's kind of where my mind goes with something. We're building more and more and more. We just want to have the division of who's responsible written down somewhere. As we see with most of our research, things aren't always written down. So that would be, so I didn't know if I know you discussed insurance side, but then there's the maintenance.
Well, maintenance and liability were the main concerns, and I did discuss it. It doesn't sound like, I don't think it's written down, and obviously they got to work.
Right?
I suggested that, they discuss that amongst their commission and potentially bring the town attorney in to understand the
We get a
liabilities.
definitive answer from the town attorney on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, it probably is some type of agreement and written down, so we can certainly get that definitive answer from the town.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's part of
I
our.
think, well, we have Bethwood here, so they may know the answer.
Yeah, I can address that.
Sure.
We,
Dwight Rowland for the record.
Dwight Rowland, president of the league, been involved in the league, this is my 42nd year. We do have an agreement with parks in the town. We donate a check of $3,000 every year to the town to help with overtime and maintenance of the fields and whatever. We've also done most of the projects up at Acorn with ours. We did the batting cages, we did the scorekeeper's booth, we installed the fencing, the scoreboards. Anything that happens to those, we fix with our own dime. So there really hasn't really been any issues, and we work really well with Adam Parsons, the Parks Department, and the town itself. So
Thank you, Dwight.
there hasn't been really any issues, and we work really well together.
No, I always think about it, so I agree, right? I've been up there, I've seen some games. Let's say the town's doing their solar project there. Does that affect anything you guys are doing?
No.
No, again, I know that, but what's the next project the town wants to do?
I mean,
Right,
the only question I had on the solar project that we never got addressed is, when the solar farm was installed, since we do RF frequencies for our scoreboard, would any of that affect our scoreboards?
Yep.
And they never addressed that, so, but again, they're not going in yet.
Yeah, and again, I'm just, as we build more, I would always want it, hey, let's write it down, do it properly, versus kind of a handshake agreements. So that would just be my 2 sentences, try to formalize some of it as we move forward with whatever we decide.
My concerns are more, I'm happy it all works well now. I'm just concerned that going in larger, the lighting system could potentially be a larger investment. Things with more maintenance requirements and more liability wrapped around it. As a town resident, I would much rather the town own and be responsible for the system than have it be an agreement between a third party that owns it, but it's sitting on town property and all that. That's just my personal feelings on that. So that's,
A whole different line of question. When something is in the Board of Selectmen meeting, discussed the way that, like what you read out before, but then it's not followed through, where does that leave us, like as a town?
What do you mean?
So the ordinance wasn't put in place from what we can find,
Right.
but it was in the minutes that was the agreement of, as far as the Board of the Selectmen at the time that was meeting about this. So hey, based on what we plan to do with this property, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, but then it falls off. Right, the X, Y, and Z doesn't follow through that we can find. So where does that leave us from, if I'm
A
the
legal
board?
standpoint, whether it's a contractual obligation?
Yeah, like you're kind of in between, right? There were agreements discussed officially, they weren't fully put in place that we can find. And now it's like, okay, like, what I'm saying is I didn't know if there's an actual way this is handled.
Well, I think Dan and I could probably answer that question from a contractual, aspect, but I think the town attorney should be the one who officially weighs in on
Well,
that.
that's kind of what I'm asking. I didn't know if
because-
we've run into this before.
Yeah, I mean, the Board of Selectmen over the decades have made decisions over and over again. That doesn't necessarily mean that a Board of Selectmen is limited to a decision that was made decades ago in general, okay? Or if that were the case, then no decisions would, happen moving forward. It was not solidified in any type of ordinance. We don't know if there was a conditional regulation placed on the Acorn Hill proposal, if it even went before TPC, right? So that's the next question, okay? It wasn't, we know now that in terms of the Board of Selectmen standpoint, it was not, as you indicated, you used the phrase follow through to ordinance. So now we have to look and see if there were any type of conditional parameters placed on this construction when it appeared, if it appeared before TPC.
and
Okay.
I'd add, I'm not sure if it wasn't followed through, because it was. The Board of Selectmen sent it to the ordinance committee. The ordinance committee met, discussed it, had a public meeting,
Right.
which could have had a
It
public
looked that way
comment.
too.
Right.
And whether or not they made a decision that the public agreed to at the time, they made a decision.
Right.
And that was a public decision that was made following
And they
all
did
the
report on
rules.
it, right. So that'll be our next steps to ensure that we have all the factual information
Okay.
regarding any potential for any.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a way this is handled, like, I don't know.
I guess, Aaron, if you look at the way you did, it was brought before ordinance.
Yeah,
They
the
chose
agreement
not to
was
put in
to
ordinance,
send
and
it to
then
the
was-
ordinance
yeah.
committee,
And
which
they
they
said
did.
establish a committee, right?
And they
Which
said
didn't
established.
happen.
Now, whether or not that happened.
Well, that's what I mean, it dropped off accidentally.
They
or
made a
on purpose, but-
recommendation,
Right.
that's not a legal agreement, that's the recommendation.
Okay, so the next steps will be to go to Oxford, so we will coordinate that with all of our schedules, and if we can have, it'll be at night, obviously, and the public is obviously invited, it will be a noticed meeting, and I encourage everyone to come out there and look at the lighting. And I will follow through with TPZ.
Are the lights active now, or is it, it's early in the season, so I didn't know.
They will meet us there and they will put the lights on for us, so they've been, they're willing to do that for us, so, okay.
And I just want to recap one thing, so this is a field designed for youth only, and it'll always stay as youth only. I just want to make sure, because there's talk of, well, what happens if an out-of-town Father's League starts there? Well, that won't happen, this is a youth field, no toilets and no concessions, it's just lights. That's all, that's what this project is for. I just want to be clear on that, because
I would imagine that, I mean, we can definitely be clear as we go forward, and I would imagine the use would be, I mean, if you think of the summertime, when it's utilized, you know, later into the evening because of daylight hours. I mean, I've been there plenty of times over the years, a long time ago, but I can't imagine it's changed that, you know, the games are all over by 8:30. I've only seen youth there, and before 9 p.m., everyone's gone.
Done.
So I can't imagine that by adding lights, should that occur, that would change.
Right,
So.
no, I just want to put
Yeah.
that in our report, you know, that's the understanding, and I think that would just be clear for the public to know.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to 95 Center Road. Dave, we have some new information, which will be very helpful and help us out in our normal
Excuse me, if
history.
I spoke out of place, I apologize.
No, you did.
No, that was
right.
public
Yeah,
comment.
yeah.
Okay, you were supposed to speak then.
Yeah, so we have some history that we found. So as we suspected, the going backwards in time was not proving to be useful. So we have some more history to review. So we'll review the documents. Essentially, it was again a farm property turned into several properties, and this one has a lot of wetlands, as we learned. So we'll take a look at the documents. Then I'll let you guys know what I see. I don't expect us to see much that's different. So lots of wetlands, driveways, rights of ways happening. My question would be, is it town-owned property that's owned by individuals all around it? So at that point, what's the responsibility of the town to, there's a maintenance question there, there's, and those kind of issues. So that's something that we may want to look into.
What did the deed say, if anything?
Well, I haven't seen the new paperwork yet. The deed doesn't say much, it
So
just
there's
says.
no restriction, just from its restriction standpoint, were there any type of restrictive covenants in the deed? Just so we know for our report.
Let me pull it up.
There's something about the town has responsibility to, like the quarter of the.
You guys probably know more than me, so
Yeah.
you're welcome, you're welcome
No,
to
that's
jump
okay,
in.
that's okay. Is it in the document? I just,
Responsibility.
we always include, so let me explain. So what we usually do is, when we review a property, what we're doing is we're coming down towards the end of a many-year process, or a few years now of doing this, but in regard to our properties, and we create the reports for all of them, we always put the deed within the report, and just so we know for future reference, if anything's in there.
Please understand the complexity, because this property we're discussing is mentioned in our property deed. So it gets very entwined, and there are right-of-ways, and in fact, the town with owning the Tarbell property in our deed has a 1/4% responsibility for the cost of our driveway.
Oh, okay.
We have never enforced that because we have all believed farmers did some pretty crazy things when they were farmers. Our neighbors are all here because we like being neighbors together. Okay?
Really a group, type group, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But if you want to volunteer your part of the financing, we will take it in lieu of taxes.
So the easements and they're, are all going to be found in essence within all of your deeds is what I'm hearing from you, okay?
Yes, when you
Okay,
research it, you're
research
gonna need to really go back into other deeds as well. And it's old property.
Yep.
Great,
No, our headache was, if it's not like changing names easily, then, and we don't know the starting point of that farmer's name, then we get stuck, right?
I've
Because we're
heard
going
that.
from now to back then. Yeah.
And the
What's that?
wetland,
1920 was the original purchase date by Dr. Tarbell.
yes.
For all the property.
Okay.
And the last owner of the property is mentioned in the wetlands hearing that we gave you copies of in
When Dr.
1978.
Tarbell
great, thank you. All right,
So Nicole, to answer your question, there are some easements that are referenced, like it's
Right.
15 foot in width, foot travel only, right? Like, so are they relevant? But, you know, in the spirit of it, yes, right? So,
Yes. Some of us have foot traffic and some of us can drive our vehicles. We have decided, we have quit claimed everything to everybody because it works.
yeah, sure,
yeah.
great.
We
Just so you
have,
guys know,
well,
this is
not
not our
you.
first time finding these fun.
Right, this is
History
this
lessons,
is not the only property that has a lot of these easements on it that we've reviewed, so.
I wonder if our old farmers smoked a lot of weed. I'm not sure of that.
They do their
It's a
own.
good theory.
The Tarbell property, there's an old shed mentioned. Of interest was an old barn, we remember it, and Dr. Tarbell stored bottles of old medications, hundreds of them, in this barn. And it was pretty dilapidated. We had concern, the town had concern because it was near the high school, and nobody knew what the medications were. That's when the town required the building to be demolished. And I think that might have had dynamics in what unfolded.
Okay, great, that's
Interesting.
So yeah,
That
so
is
we'll do
interesting.
a little more research,
Great.
just to lay it out, and then just for everybody's knowledge, we put together a report. And if we all vote on something, we put that in there, but a lot of times it's just a report that says, here's the history. So that
We
you
don't
guys
have a lot,
Come
yeah.
back and say this every time, right, it comes up. So,
And Dave,
Yeah,
Fred has a lot of that. He's collected over our 50 years, if you want.
yeah, so anything you want to submit, want us to put in that report, hand to Tony, and then we'll pull it
He
together.
has names of different people who
Okay.
own the properties at different times, if that helps you in your research.
it'd be great, thank you. And, you know, as I indicated in my opening remarks, this has not been done since the early 80s, and so we need to ensure that we have a good historical footprint of all of the town-owned properties in the town of Woodbridge. I will tell you that we're definitely, some of them are very involved, to say the least, and we have certainly learned a lot of the history of some of these properties as well. It's included within our reports, so that these reports will be compiled together so that any committee or commission or resident or agency in town will be able to reference this, these reports and know ahead of time.
And write a book.
Yeah.
Well, we were doing all the Center Road properties, so we, started with Peace, and then we were just going down Center Road.
Right.
So that's how this thing came up.
And we are almost done with
Yeah.
I
everything.
have just one comment. Jeff Ginsburg, I
Hi,
live at
Jeff.
85 Center Road. The deed that I saw pertaining to 95 was a quitclaim deed,
Mhm.
which means that the person who owned the property gave whatever it was that they had to the town.
Right.
So that's interesting. The
Yeah.
town does not have a warranty deed.
Mm.
And I have a soil and inlands water report of this property going back to 1978. It's a 50-page report, and the property is considered very wet.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Do you want to share that report, Jeff?
I can share the report.
I would love that report. We love a good appendix over here.
It's important we have the
Thank you.
definition of buried.
Thank you, Jeff, that'd be great.
If you come out to look at it, bring boots.
Yeah, I'll send Dave.
Have you all seen it yet? Can I ask a question? Have you all seen this property yet? Any of you?
Dave has
No,
gone,
wait,
it's assigned to Dave, so he's gone to see.
Yeah,
What
so-
happens is, there's some drainage from above that comes right into it. There's a couple drainage pipes. There's a head wall that takes the water from under the road and goes out there. I mean, half of the upper properties drain into this particular lot.
Our perch spring comes down our driveway and ends up there.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is all helpful information that the town does not have at this point in time, which is why we are going through this process on every property that, category 3 property that the town owns, so that this information can be all compiled and be a resource for everyone. So this is very helpful, so thank you for coming out tonight, really appreciate it. Anything you want to share with us?
Yeah.
Feel
the
free to
other-
bring
the other
it to
thing
us,
is,
it'll be part of our report.
understand The fellow who inherited it years ago tried to develop the property, it wasn't developable, and that's why he gave it to the town.
Okay.
That's just the way my understanding.
Well, my understanding was a tax.
What Dr. Tarlow did was bought the whole property, then broke it down into parcels, built 3 houses, and when he and his wife died, his heir had this 95 segment, and he tried to build on it and was denied the
Too
ability to build on it. And in lieu of taxes, he deeded it over to the town.
Then that would probably the quick claim. Great. And what is your name for the
I'm
record?
Aaron Allenson, 93 Center Road.
Great, thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you for coming out, everybody. I really appreciate it. You're really doing all of our work for us. You're spoiled on this one, Dave.
Dave, call us if we can keep you from going down that rabbit hole.
Okay, that works.
Oh, I love a good rabbit hole, though.
Yes. It's too wet for
I know,
rabbits.
it's too wet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Can I ask one more question
Okay.
before you?
Sure.
Is it, an acre and a half lot, or is it, an acre and a quarter?
1.15.
1.15.
And-
What?
1.15.
And one of that is the projection between the Carlson's driveway and ours. That's maybe 300 feet by 30 feet.
Okay, so it's not really,
It's odd.
Oh, yeah, it's a funny shape.
Right.
Why it was cut that way, like.
okay.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody.
All
I
right,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And thank you for what you're doing for us.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming out. Bye. Okay, moving on to P's.
Excuse me, one last comment. You're talking a lot about lighting. Great. We live between Amity and the church. We are a family of birders. Not everybody loves birds the way we do, but when lights are left on, it interrupts the migratory passage, and the birds come up our ridge to avoid New Haven. So anything that you can do to have lights turned off at night,
Right. Turn them off at night,
us
right,
bird brains
exactly.
would like.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Okay, now moving on to P's. I have news on P's.
Oh, boy.
So,
That sounds.
yeah, give a minute.
Let Tony,
Okay. Sorry, Tony, are you all set? I don't wanna speak good. Okay, good. All right, moving on to P's. On Thursday, I believe it was Thursday, sometime last week, I met with the landscape architect, Aristalis. Am I saying his name properly?
I know.
Trying to get an estimate or on a proposal for a master plan for Peace Park. Okay, so
Yeah,
here we
we're
go.
making moves.
Here we go.
Finally.
All right, don't get too excited. So,
that's
so
a step forward, another step forward.
now I am going to give some input on what he did say, which is going to
Sure.
change our plan a little bit, and I would really like to solidify our plan sooner than later, because it's my understanding after speaking with Tony Genovese that the STEEP grant will most likely be coming out probably end of April-ish, maybe May, due in June-ish maybe, and probably awarded in the fall, and that's just his guesstimate from doing this over the many years that he's been doing that, but I think sooner than later, let's try to get this wrapped
So
up.
we're gonna have to rush
I asked Tony And I'm gonna say this, to make sure I understood this correctly, but I believe that Tony is going to be looking into getting us an estimate to do the ADA track piece, that we discussed, that would be going around the front fields to gain access to the back fields that we discussed. We're missing that estimate. Now, before I tell you the changes that he recommended, he did give an estimate for how much it would cost to come up with a master plan. It's more than we had thought it would be, but I will be bringing this to the Board of Selectmen on Wednesday. It's $13,900
For his services.
for his services. So I will be bringing this proposal forward as part of the report that I provide on Wednesday. I don't think it's egregious, but it's definitely more than they had thought that it would be. Now, here for the changes that he recommended.
That's a investment so that you're shovel ready, right?
Correct.
So
Yep, and he made
He's
very
right.
good suggestions, by the way, that will need to,
Well, yeah.
because this is what he does, right?
Yep.
So here's the difference of what he had stated than what our map said. So, in his experience, it makes sense to where the playground is. So you wanna pull it up, maybe on the screen,
Sure.
so people know what we're talking about? See, I knew we were gonna use the screen tonight, Dave.
But this is for a study still, so it's not like shovel ready for construction.
Well, he's gonna be making a
It's
master
study.
plan,
It's
yeah.
a master plan, so it's like a
but that
feasibility.
showed, for the steep grant in particular, by
We-
spending some money, you show commitment,
Yep.
and that, checks all the boxes on the grant.
Right.
They're big, the point of that grant is they don't want to fund ideas,
Right,
they wanna help you accomplish development.
right, but it's not a full set of documents with all the
Of course.
dimensions, I just wanna make sure that.
Well, that
'cause
is a good question, cause for 13K, you're getting ready
master
to
plan.
go.
You're
or-
getting a plan that they could build to, but it would need further development to
As part of the
build.
project.
Right,
As
right.
Yeah,
part
I
of the
understand.
project, I mean,
Maybe I'm using the term shovel ready wrong, right?
yeah,
But-
great, I
Yeah, it's
just
not
wanna
like
make
an
sure.
architectural drawing.
It's not an architectural
permits.
construction set of documents that they could build from, it's more of a feasibility study, a master plan with all the cost estimates and all the
You're dealing with drainage
scheduling.
problems, you're dealing with, yeah,
Absolutely,
but you
all
don't
the
quite
due
know
diligence,
exactly,
all the-
yeah.
all
okay.
the due diligence
I'm
is
with you.
done.
And
I
it's
just
what
wanna
we
make
need to
sure.
do to show the state of Connecticut that we are serious about this project, we anticipate it moving forward, should we be granted this money? Versus, our slideshow presentation without a master plan from an expert, which certainly, I'm sure we all have a lot of talents, but I don't know if that's.
That was just a first pass conceptual, right.
Okay, so if we could look at, I can look over here.
What do you want?
So if we could zoom into the playground. Do we have one without all the boxes? Oh, there we go, perfect, okay. So if we go down to perfect, so we go down to the playground. So what he suggested, so I'm looking at it, so I have to do the reverse. So on the left-hand side of the playground, first I should preface this by saying, in his experience, when you're dealing with splash pads and bicycle playgrounds and things of that nature, they should all be connected, for lack of a better word, okay? So he suggested, and this is probably what his master plan would mirror, when you're so this would be, so on your left-hand side would be a standalone, your left-hand side, would be this.
West,
Yeah.
west of the
Yep.
playground.
Other side, east.
East.
It would, that's where the splash pad would be, very, like, almost right off of the playground, or give or take a foot or so, okay? And it would be a splash pad on its own. Now, it's not as much space as we anticipated, however, there'd be a big enough space there, he believes it'd be enough for the littles to be able to be on the splash pad. On the other side is where we are going to be placing, and he did agree, that would be the location of the bicycle playground, so that would stay as is. Now, between the parking lot and the splash pad, so north of the splash pad, would be where he would recommend putting indoor facilities for the purpose of all of us who have had little kids. Know you have approximately 0.01 seconds to get to the bathroom when you're on the playground, and that was his point, and that's quite well noted.
Yeah, don't have the kids cross.
Yes, you cannot go all the way, you don't have that much time. So he suggested, plus with the splash pad and everything right there, changing, et cetera, he suggested that it all stay in that particular area. Across on the other side of the parking lot, by the tree line, so you know where the shed is on, yes, right there, where the tree line is on the opposite side of that pathway, around that area, where we have all of the storage bins lined up right now, all the way to like the storage area. That would be where he would suggest putting the ice, we'll call it ice rink, but it's not like a rink, indoor rink, it's like an ice slab, okay? There's running water right there, there's electricity there already, in that location, because there are working fountains there and things of that nature, so he suggested that's where that should go. So you're kind of segmenting it, having that amenity on the other side, which is fine. I mean, that's an amenity for all ages, right? And then you have the other items with all the littles, like say littles, but the younger children in town all in a row. You know, your parent, he said, you want it to be, you could sit under the, they have a pergola or something there, and you can sit there and watch your children, etc. So that's what his master plan will most likely look like, of course, barring any environmental issues. I will say I did learn, which doesn't really help us much. We were kind of hoping there'd be some type of a land survey that had already been done of the property. It was not, which is why they ran into a lot of issues with the playground that was built there. Apparently that was not done, and as a result they had to spend a lot of extra money for fill. So that would be something that may have to be done, later on, but would be obviously part of the master plan and the steps that the town would have to take that would be presented to the state. I told him that we would forward him, assuming we get approval by the Board of Selectmen, which I hope we do, we would forward him all of the estimates that we already have gathered and all the information we can find, Dave, like maps, like the wetland maps and any topography maps and things like that. And we'll just gather, we have most of that together anyway, but just maybe not in the slide, just to put it all together as a packet. So if you could help gather all of that, that'd be great.
Like the
And then
actual deeds and all that kind of stuff?
The estimates.
I think he wants
The
the
conceptual.
estimates, he wants any maps of the property that we can find. We know that there's not a land survey, so that's not available.
That's what I mean, I don't know that there's, actually I have it, I don't know that there's much besides,
I think just the
GIS maps,
topography
the
maps
topography maps,
is all
and
he
the
needs from
wetland map would be
GIS.
fine.
yeah, I can pull that down, but I'm saying there's no like map, like officially.
Right, there probably
No.
isn't.
No, it's these are the deeds.
Yeah,
they're
so
just-
anything, he just asked for wetlands, which is really like the GIS map, right? So wetlands, topography, our estimates, things of that nature, so he can incorporate those within the master plan should the Board of Selectmen approve this. I am really going to, and I have been doing this every time I can, pushing for this project to go through so that we can at least apply for this steep grant. And to Dave's point, and Patty, because Patty gets to do this all the time, so she knows all the proper terminology, but, we cannot, it was made very clear to us by Tony Genovese, who does this all the time, that unless we show a substantial step of some type where we have spent some funds towards a project, they're not just going to award money to a municipality on an idea. And this would be a substantial step,
Yeah, and
whatever we want to call it. So I'm glad I got this done.
it's good.
And I will bring it up on Wednesday again, as I do all the time. He did copy Tony on it, so I haven't heard back yet, so maybe there isn't a sense of shock, I don't know. I'll be optimistic, but I think this is something that would really, I know this is something, and we've already discussed this, that would be very well received with people in town. How many times people with children who always say, there's not enough things to do here for the little kids, and so this would be a great campus of sorts of activities. So, and also, by the way, as a little aside, talk about field trips. we still have to go to Newtown if you'd like and go look at the bicycle playground that they have at Fairfield Hills. So, that former campus. If you've never been to that former campus, they've done a lot. It's a huge piece of property.
That's cool.
So, I have news. See, I told you. Good news. So, there you go. So, thanks, Dave. If you can help me get that together, that would be very much appreciated. And I will hopefully report back with some kind of great news.
You need some of this put together by next meeting, or before you're presenting in 2 days?
I don't need all the estimates and things like that for the meeting on Wednesday, but I would like to email it to him as sooner than later. I have most of the estimates. I just need to make sure that we just put it all together in a packet, and I could just shoot it over via email to him, and I'll copy Tony as
Okay,
well.
so sometime this week, but you don't need it before Wednesday?
No.
Okay, just
No.
making sure.
Yeah. I have the proposal I need for Wednesday from the landscape architect, so we'll see.
That's great.
So that's my news. All right. For other business, I just wanted to point out, so Dave, I'm speaking for Dave now. So Dave has been working with Tim on, which is something that we've discussed multiple times. I don't want to get into details because it's not on the agenda for tonight, but I am going to put on for the next meeting, and Tim did indicate he can attend the next meeting in April, the connectivity piece for the trails to go down into the business district. And actually, perfect timing on that, because I will be at that meeting on Wednesday, and we'll tell them to,
Yep.
listen to Dave and Tim's presentation about different possibilities. So we'll get into more details at the next meeting, but that will certainly be on the agenda. That takes into consideration all of those Selden properties in some way or fashion. Some cannot be used, some can. Well, we can talk about it
Yeah,
more.
just to give you guys the quick version, the goal is to improve the current trails that are there. There's some erosion issues. The exit near the bank down there is not great, so bordering on unsafe. So there's some issues there with the current trails. So we can improve those, while the goal is to connect towards the business district. So go down to Selden Street or Hazel Terrace in some way with trails. By going that way, it would also make it bikeable. Right now, it's pretty hard to bike up that hill. So now you can do some switchbacks, make it bikeable, and obviously our Amity Bike Shop would like that. And then the other thing that we could look at is trying to connect to the country club, right? These are all those
Right.
same trails that are right there. So we'll see how that all goes, but those are some of the goals of the project is to do that. It's not quite 100% clear how to do all that, so
But it's in
that's what we
progress.
can lay out. Yeah, there's ways, but it's not quite all town land, right? So we have to work through some of those questions.
Great, thanks, Dave. And then I'm gonna just point out, and I'm gonna ask for someone to second a motion of mine in a second, but, cause I just wanna ask, quick questions before I present on Wednesday. It's not on the agenda. So actually, I'm gonna make a motion to briefly, and I promise briefly, discuss, my update, to the Board of Selectmen on behalf of Cupop on Wednesday. Can I have a second for that? Aaron, okay. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor?
So you just wanna go through what you're.
Right, I'm just gonna
Oh,
wanna
yeah.
make sure, cause I have a question for Dan, and
Yep.
then I just wanna just confirm something else, and then I'm done, I promise. Then we're gonna be the shortest meeting ever. Okay, Dan.
Yes.
So what I'm doing is I'm listing what we've discussed, what we've recommended changes in use in, what we haven't, and things of that nature. So for Forest Road, I have it listed under deed restricted residential use only / change in use, but not all of them are deed restricted residential only, or are they all? Do you know the answer to that?
I can find out the answer to that in a minute here. I think the answer is that not all of them are, because I think at the tail end, when the developer quitclaimed like a third of the lots or whatever it was to the town to extinguish tax liability, I don't think there were deed restrictions on that deed. I think there were deed restrictions on all of the individual conveyances earlier in the life of the development. But I can
Great.
pull up that deed right now
Thank you.
and find that answer for you in the next
Love
2
it.
minutes.
Thank you, that'd be great. And if we could add that piece into the report that you wrote, is that all, because I didn't see it in there. We probably should put the restrictions
Yeah,
in.
I'm gonna get it right now. I have it
Thank
sitting
you.
in my.
Unless I missed it, which is possible.
Well, I'll check because I have it in my draft to send. But
Okay.
if I'd like to send to you and Tony the
Okay.
proposed final version, but if it's
Great.
not in there, I will add that detail detail.
Perfect.
And then send it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, and I'm just going through, just to be quick here. So that would be our only deed restricted residential use only this round. We've already done that on other rounds the year prior. We recommended change in use on 5 Newton Road in connection with the police department, 312 Rimmon Road. We recommended for discontinued use, this is just a summary, which is also known as abandonment, either statutory discontinued or use or sale to abutting landowners on Laurel Road, Ailing Avenue, and 60 Brookwood Drive. Deed restricted open space, change in use on 1159 Racebrook Road to be used for agriculture. Same with 115 Ford Road, to use for agriculture for pumpkins potentially, and to bring in some kind of a agri-tourism commercial linkage with Massaro and Savino down on Ford Road. Again, both of those properties, ironically, only the front, the back is all wetlands. Deed restricted open space, no change in use, Cow Path and Peck Hill Road that you just recently reported on, 143. And there, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but there's a slew of no change in use for many, many properties. There's about 15 here, if not more. Acquisition of publicly owned property since we last reported 1875 Litchfield Turnpike is a category 4 because it's owned by the state of Connecticut. And it's open space 28.2 acres that we acquired. Pending potential acquisition of publicly owned property, 20 Blue Trail Drive. Again, I have a call into Chris Sullivan on the status of that. To recap on that one, you may not recall, but it's part of a development that's happening where the owner is going to be gifting 15 acres to the town. Property discussions in process, 52 Center Row, which is part of Pease, 95 Center Row, which we discussed this evening, 39 Manila, which we never came to a conclusion on, so I'm gonna put that on the agenda for April, so we can wrap that one up. And I listed all the Selden Street addresses, which we will discuss in April. Dave, that brings you to a point. If they're not mentioned in your report, and if there's a reason why, like topography or whatever, if you could just let us know that so we can take action on all of them in April, that'd be wonderful. I think a lot of them are topography problems, but just to keep that in the back of your mind.
As far as the trails or just what they.
All
what
the
we're
Selden
doing with
properties that we own, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, yeah.
6, there's 8 of them, so if you could just let us know on those. They're all right next to each
I
other.
mean, it's gonna be a Dan exercise where, like, cause 2 we don't own, they're in liens, we own 5 of them, then we own these big chunks over here.
Uh-oh, look at you.
So
I'm
it's gonna,
scared.
I'm not saying you need to do it, I have all the info, I'm saying,
It's gonna look like
It's
the
gonna-
theater lots.
It's gonna look
Yeah.
like their lots.
It's
not
But it's
quite
another,
the-
it's another small divided they're all subdivision lots and they're small. Sorry, Dan, you did such a good job that we may have to ask for your assistance on that. He's probably ready.
no, this one, it's not quite to that level, the forest, but, yeah, I can lay out what I mean is the trail project is one thing, I can lay out the whole other thing as well, yeah.
Okay. And then remaining properties to be assigned. So there's only really 1, 2, 3, well, I'm gonna say 4, even though some of them are, next to each other. We did not research 100 Center Road, which has the track and everything else, so we should probably
Right.
make do that one, Fitzgerald's. But
Oh, over here. Okay.
yeah, that whole field. It's actually beyond it's that whole entire area, so we should do that. 13 Newton Road, which I know we discussed briefly, that's along the driveway of the Amity High School, but we never really officially discussed it, so we should probably we wanna do this. 44 and 80 Park Lane, that's underneath the power lines, so we should, put together a report on that. And then we've got the 1831, 1840, and 1841 Litchfield Turnpike properties, which, again, we should discuss those as well. I think that includes a lot of trails. It sounds like a Dave thing, but it has a lot of trails. I think the topography is kind of a mess over there. So that would be just something, and then we would have closed out all of our properties. So, who wants a property? Who wants to do Fitzgerald?
I thought Fitzgerald it's deemed open space, we're not gonna be changing the use.
No, we
but-
sort of bring it's not deed restricted, but we should be putting all that information together.
It doesn't exist.
To our point with,
Okay.
when everybody wants the resources, if we're able to reference it.
That one's got just about everything you can think of going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Parking lots, dog parks, walking parks, trails,
Rose Garden,
the gardens, Yeah, like that thing has a lot going on.
Has a lot going on, so we should probably get it all together. Anyone? Nobody wants to take Fitzgerald? Oh yeah, Patrick, I love it. Oh, too late. Dan, you can help with the Selden.
I will, though, I've had a chance to pull back up the deed in my draft report. I can confirm that the sort of bulk transfer of properties from the Woodbridge Heights subdevelopment to the town in 1937 did not include any sort of restrictive covenant, which is not surprising given that it was a tax forfeiture and not a sale for further development.
Okay.
And I checked, I'm looking at my report, and it does have that in there, so I'm
I
gonna
don't know how I
hit,
missed that,
I'm gonna
sorry.
hit send on
Okay.
email to Tony.
Thank
that will
you.
have all the appendices as well.
So I'll change that heading and I'll
will be
put it, okay.
Copied on
Okay.
that email.
Thank you, Dan.
I'll take the Litchfield ones if you want.
You want to take the Litchfield ones because they're trails, and I think it's a topography issue too. Or there may not be trails actually if it's topography, but you'll figure that out.
What was the numbers?
1831, 1840, and 1841.
Okay.
And then I'll do 13 Newton because I'm pretty sure I already looked up that up. So I'll do 13 Newton. And who wants to do the 2 park lanes under the?
I can do this.
You want to do this? Okay,
What
great.
are the numbers?
44 and 80. Great. And then I listed, and I just want to make sure I have all of the projects completed. We reviewed and recommended a publicly owned property, 5 Newton Road, for potential change in use to accommodate a rebuild for the Woodbridge Police Department. We provided collaborative POCD recommendations, and including, work with conservation, RAC, housing, sustainability, EDC, historical society, police commissions, and agricultural commissions to the TPZ on December 3rd, and resubmitted during the subsequent POCD review following the Board of Selectmen rejection. Our commission participated in the TAC for the CCW master plan. We did that, and we delivered a historical report, which included the deeds, property purchase documents, and all of that to the consultant. And projects in progress, Pease Park, what we're discussing. Beth, at the request of resident and Bethwood baseball leagues, the feasibility of lighting for Acorn Hill Park, and connecting the trails, and I put you and Tim Austin for the business district, utilizing town-owned properties.
And then there are several properties we still owe reports on. We voted on that.
We have a lot of reports. Yeah, I'll get to that in
Yeah.
1 second. So,
Okay.
yeah, so
No, I
did
don't
I?
want you to give the impression we're done.
Yeah. Oh, no. We have to catch up on the reports,
Is
but
there a place where I could get access to all the reports that have been submitted?
yes, actually, they're online, and also Tony, I'll talk to you after the meeting for a second about something, but yes, they're all on our page.
Okay. I want to actually pull them into that app
Right.
I was telling you about. So.
So
Which Newton number did you say you were gonna do?
I'm doing
13?
13.
Oh, okay.
The reports online, though, that's not the broken links, that's just the one on the web, under Cupop's.
Yes.
Okay, the
Yeah,
ones
the-
that you have,
Yep, the recommendations.
really, they're all there?
Yeah, not all, but I'm gonna talk to Tony
Okay.
because she has some, and then
Okay.
we're gonna fix that. And I owe some, and I think a lot of us owe some. No, I owe some. I think it's just me. Okay. I think Dave owes some too, so I'm gonna point the finger
I
at
owe
you.
like 6.
Okay, me too. We did a lot of properties. Okay. So I just want to make sure. Are there any other projects that we've done? I think I hit them all, right?
The
or
only
that's
other one that we started discussing was the country club, but that's not news to anybody.
No, that's it.
But that's gonna be on our
Oh.
discussion list.
I forgot to put the woodland properties. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Woodfield. Woodland. Woodfield.
What's a Woodfield?
Woodfield is one of the roads.
What are the roads? The property
that
address for the
surrounds
country club.
the country club.
No, I'm saying, we haven't
In this
discussed.
report, I didn't put it in there. They're gonna wonder. We haven't done a report on Woodfield, so I have to tell them that here.
Well, we haven't done a report on the whole country club.
Right. So I have to say that that's remaining.
Okay.
I didn't list it as remaining, so I'll do that one.
All those things you just said, are you gonna give them to Tony to, like, how do we, put this in the notes? This new other business, that's a lot of
So
can
Tony's
we
got
just
it. It's really only, the new business is, just to recap, 100 Center Road, 13 Newton, Fitzgerald, Patrick, you took Fitzgerald, right? Okay, 13 Newton Road I took, 44 and 80 Park Lane Aaron took, in 1831, 1840, and 1841 Litchfield Turnpike Dave took. Right, and then,
Okay. I just wanna make sure, cause that
and
was a
then
lot.
Dave's also gonna work on the Selden Street ones, and Dan's gonna have to look at that with Dave, and then, you know,
Yeah,
cause
if I
that
hit
may
a
be
dead end, I'll
yeah, that may
put
be a
Dan.
theater lot
Yeah.
situation.
So
Dave
Fitz,
and Dan are gonna work on that too.
Sure,
if Fitzgerald is big, I'll work on that with you,
perfect,
okay?
perfect.
Cause there's a lot of parcels.
There's a lot going on there. All right, so are there any other projects that we did outside of property reviews, because I have to add in the CCW? Outside of that, I think I hit all the projects. And that is basically what I'm doing, is I'm creating this document like I did last time, which was helpful, just to kind of, so they can see all the properties that were reviewed. And we are, other than catching up on reports in terms of our discussions on the use of properties, we're really, the light is at the
The
end of
only
the
other
tunnel.
thing we discussed, though I don't know that it went through, is the grant for the trails that I put together with Tony and Mika.
Is that the same as the trails that you're talking to Tim about in the business district?
It's one of the projects, but there was like, we had 8 different projects we were looking at throughout the town.
Okay, can you give me like a quick, like, 2-sentence thing on that, and I'll add it? Can you just email it to me tonight, and then,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna submit this tonight to,
I mean, it's Selden, but there's other spots, like it was, but I don't know that they actually formally kept it submitted. They might have pulled it back. This is
Didn't-
they
didn't-
being Tony and the team.
You said March, didn't you need it by March or something? Or was that something else?
No, this was in December, the Trails Grant, it's the Deep Trails Recreation Grant. We had submitted for it, it had 7 or 8 different projects. One of those was Selden, there was other ones, like one was in Quillinan, one was at Racebrook, so,
well, I'll tell you how I've ordered the projects in progress, and tell me if this covers it, okay? And I'll
Sure.
just add in, connecting trails to the business district, utilizing, I put in parentheses, utilizing town-owned properties located on Park Lane and Selden,
mhm.
in collaboration with Tim Austin Trails, and what else?
Just a second bullet that said trail maintenance throughout town, like, that's all I would put in. 'Cause it's, yeah.
Grants for trail maintenance
Yep, because it was like fixing bridges, things like that around town.
throughout town. So you were trying to solicit
the
grants, you were
trails
soliciting grants for trail maintenance throughout town,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and it was Tony that submitted, so it was the town submitted with support from others.
Got it. Okay, I'll put that in there too. All right. So that's what I'm going to submit. Thank you for adding that to the agenda. And that's it. So I think we're in really good moving on. In April, we'll talk about this, not tonight, but in April, we're gonna have to start talking about fixing all the links in the, list that I thought it was complete in 2023. So we will have to fix those links. We'll talk about that in April. So other than those new properties, we're gonna report back on Acorn. We're gonna go on a road trip between now and our next meeting, hopefully. 95 Center, we will be able to finish up with that, hopefully. And we'll have discussion on the, links. That's all the properties, and then we'll play catch up with all of our reports, make sure those are all online. We'll focus on that and getting that done. And then we'll move on to, I'm sure there'll be more projects like the CCW and all the others, okay? Does anybody have any other suggestions? I think that's a lot, but we can do it, we'll get it done, right? Great. Hearing no other business, I will make a motion, oh, wait, our next meeting is Monday, April 27th at 6 p.m. The book talk, by the way, that we were chuckling about, you know, like the topic, that's on Saturday afternoon, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know, were you here, Patrick? Susan Jacobs wrote a book, it's called Public Comment, and she'll be talking about it on Sunday. And the subject matter, it's like kind of like a murder mystery involving an abandoned golf course in a small town. I will be reading that book. So, that's it. So, motion to adjourn. Second? Aaron, all right. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night.